Okay, so this is an automation I've basically created for myself. Historically, I've been really inconsistent with posting on LinkedIn and coming up with ideas and content and that type of thing. I always kind of held off doing it because I always wanted it to sort of sound authentic in me. But I think I've come up with a decent solution now that seems to work. It's not 100%, there's still some things that I can add on to it and to make it a bit better in the future, but it's kind of 75% there, I would say. So this is done in Make, which is one of the the biggest automation tools alongside N8N. So it starts off by using this module here, which is Airtable, which is basically like a cloud database. You can use things like Google Sheets, but I'm opting to use Airtable. So the first one is it goes into a table called Get Topics, which, as it says on the tin, is basically a list of ideas and descriptions for posts, but it doesn't go into a lot of doesn't go into a lot of detail. So I created this list through ChatGPT. So just got it to create, I think it was 50 ideas around this particular topic, which is fractional project management and sort of the IT services area. And it's come up with all of these topics and descriptions, which I then pasted into Airtable. What you can then do is, if there's anything that sort of jumped out as I really don't like that idea, or I've done it before, or anything you just want to discount, then you can just give it the status declined and it won't do anything with it. But for those ones that you're happy with, you select the approved status, which then triggers this workflow at a regular interval, which is currently every 15 minutes, but I'll probably change it to just do it a couple of times a day. So what it will then do is once it kicks off, it will go and grab anything from that table that has got that status approved, and it will add it to this array, which is basically a big list or a separated list, and allows you to go through each of those items one at a time. So if it gets 10 items, then it will perform the same set of steps for each of those 10 items. It saves you having to keep repeating the same process over and over again. Then it basically takes those values out of this iterator and array, sets it as variables, so then you can reference it later on in the process. And I've got this this option here where it will select a random number between 1 and 7, which then selects which of these routes it goes along. So when I first started this, I just had one route, which was PAS. So I'll come on to what that means in a minute. But what I found was that every LinkedIn post that it was creating, it was kind of the same style, same hook, looked very similar to each other, and I really wanted to kind of mix it up and each one to look slightly different and just have variations. So these green blobs here are all OpenAI or ChatGPT components. So what that does is that calls basically a writer agent in OpenAI, of which I've created seven different variants of. So it will get the topic, send it to OpenAI, which will then write a LinkedIn post based on what that topic and description was. It will then update the table again of what that LinkedIn post is, the draft, and also it will update that original topics table to say that it's been researched, basically, so it doesn't then pull it down again and do the same thing over and over again. So if we look at the OpenAI writer then, so each of these different acronyms at the front relate to a different style of copywriting. So PAS refers to problem, agitate, solution, I think it is. So you'll see in here these assistants. I've got 7 different versions, and they're all trained in a slightly different way. So you start by giving it some basic instructions on what its role is and how it sort of writes things. So this is the PAS framework, which it knows about. So it references ChatGPT's knowledge and knows all about what PAS is and the framework and how it can be used to basically get people to contact you and engage in your posts. So this one, it specifies the tone of voice, sort of how I want to come across and what's sort of most similar to my style. Writing style, obviously want it to be English and not sort of American language or any sort of cheesy cliches or anything like that. And also I do want it to include lots of emojis or things that sort of really jump out as, oh, that's AI generated. There's also some formatting about maximum 50 words. Again, how you want it to sort of to be structured, any hooks you want it to, and call to actions you want at the end of it. So for me, I wanted it to be contact me via DM or schedule a call via a link in the bio. And there's just some final checks. Sometimes you have to kind of reinforce these things multiple times to get the right result, and a lot of it is a little bit of trial and error. So authenticity, I wanted it to be as authentic as possible, and I didn't want it to create lots of versions of the same thing. So I didn't want it to sort of recycle other posts or plagiarise from other people. I wanted it to be sort of authentic to me. So that's the first one. And then all I've done for the others is copy and paste that in, but change to the relevant framework. So you've got AIDA, which is Attention, Interest, Desire, Action framework, which it makes a lot more sense when you actually see examples of it. And then we've got things like, what's BAB? Oh, before, after bridge. Oh yeah, so an example of that is, this is what it was like before, after I implemented XYZ, and this is the after result. And you'll recognise it from when you look at LinkedIn posts or other people's content. There's kind of a few flavours of how they're structured. We've got 4 Ps, which is what is the problem, what is your promise, how do you prove that you've done it before, or you can deliver it, and what's your proposal, what's your offering. So that's another one. I won't go through every single one. We've got PSO, problem, solution, outcome. ITR, which is insight, tension, resolution. And number 7, which is open loop. So these aren't new. These are quite established copywriting frameworks. So if you looked in any kind of copywriting book or guide, these would all be detailed, and they're used quite extensively. So going back to the automation then. So what it will do then, you give it a topic, it will use whichever one of these is randomly selected to then create that LinkedIn post, update this post table, which includes the original idea and description from the topics table. It will create a draft of the post itself, which corresponds to the details and the framework I've given it. So they're fairly short, so I didn't want sort of long rambling posts for LinkedIn. And then it gives it the status ready for review. And also it specifies which framework it's done. So you'll see from the random number selection, it's kind of got a fairly decent mix of frameworks, which should give me again a good selection of styles of posts for when I schedule them. So then what you can do in here is coming back to this human in the middle approach, which basically it stops AI from doing its own thing. So you don't just press a button, it does everything, posts it straight away. You've got no sight of what it's done until it's done it. This is very much, you can go in and change what that LinkedIn post is, so you can review it, tweak the wording, get it sort of exactly how you want it, and then you can tick this box, and this actually fires another automation separate to the one I'm showing now, which will then add it to my buffer queue, and then it will post it. I mentioned at the start that it's still not 100% there, so there's still a few things that are manual, like changing some of these statuses are manual, but I'm still working through it at the moment. And the main hurdle at the moment is creating the images around it. So I've not yet found a really good model that I can use or tool to create an authentic looking image to go alongside that. I can manually do it in ChatGPT by copy and pasting that in, and it will create one. But the agents themselves, I'm not quite there with it yet, so there's a little bit of work to do. Currently, I'm just going into Canva and just doing sort of a standard coloured background template, then having the idea as text over the top, which is okay, but then they can become a little bit samey. But you can spend literally like hours creating all this stuff. So that's it really. So this is a good kind of first start for me of something that solves an issue in my business. You can do variations of this for whatever platform you want to post it to. So you could quite easily tweak these agents so that they write for Instagram or for X or another platform. You probably shouldn't just reuse the exact same ones because there's different limitations. X has got a much shorter character count than LinkedIn, and there'll be other kind of nuances that work better on one platform over another. But the bulk of it, you can, once you've done it once, you can just sort of change these and make it work for however you want to. So I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions or anything I can help with, then please don't hesitate to reach out.